Hello everybody, I am Miguel, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Previously, I would just upload the grinding sessions to the Moemon Let's Play. However, what ended up happening was we had hours upon hours of content that was boring, mindless, and overall not the most entertaining thing to watch, at least from my perspective. Therefore, considering this is the Moemon When They Cry Nuzlocke series, I figured I'd read Kikonia while showing off the grinding here. That way, those who want the proof still have it, and those who want to be entertained have this. And this is sped up. This is at times 400 speed. Therefore, it's going to be really fast. In fact, this footage here was maybe almost 5 hours, if more, because a lot of it, even then, I did not include my game crashing as part of this proof video. I didn't include the times I forgot to save and whatnot. I just included what was recorded in the actual game file. Therefore, I hope you guys enjoy. To fly freely at the speed of sound like a fighter jet. To fearlessly withstand all attacks like a tank. To wield the weaponry of a fortress, a warship. What if all these superpowers were compressed into the left arm of a single soldier? I'm not talking about some sort of comic book hero. What you're looking at is the next generation of soldiers who will defend world peace. The aerial augmented infantry, otherwise known as gauntlet knights. This elegant gauntlet worn on the left arm and reminiscent of medieval knights contains all of the weaponry and technology humanity has given birth to thus far. It controls all of the 8 M's in their bodies and the surrounding air, enabling them to free themselves from the laws of the surface world and surpass them. AOU. The video showed a lone boy soldier wearing a gauntlet on his left arm, standing on a massive airstrip. A whistle blew and his body floated upwards about 10 centimeters. He literally was floating. Cutting-edge 8MS techniques made it possible to create and control force fields, releasing his body from gravity. The whistle blew again, and his floating body danced like a bird, flitting about the space over the airstrip at will. Gauntlets give soldiers the same mobility as an aircraft. Their maximum speed is in no way inferior to the best fighter jets from around the world. And the powerful Gs that would normally put a harsh burden on them have been eased thanks to the anti-G 8MS in their bodies. This allows them to fly in ways pilots of existing aircraft could never even dream of. And when taken to an extreme, even ricochet flying is possible. AOU. The video changed scenes. A gauntlet knight practicing in the skies above the training grounds was being recorded from behind by a friendly plane in pursuit. One moment, the gauntlet knight was flying in the elegant, familiar way of a plane, and the next its trajectory became complicated and bizarre, as if it was being bounced at odd angles like the diffused reflection of light. Because it looked like they were rebounding fiercely off the walls of a pipe as they flew. This was known as ricochet flying. As the word ricochet suggests, the gauntlet knight kept flying at fierce, sharp angles without losing any of their speed. Normally, flying like this would put enormous G's on their brain and all over their body, likely killing them instantly. However, 8MS tech has freed them from all of the ground's restrictions. Even amazing mid-air movements like these are now possible. And I want you to pay close attention to this footage. This is a fire control system trying to target a gauntlet knight. As it tried to target the ricochet flying gauntlet knight, a computer-controlled sight indicator with prediction lines kept appearing and disappearing. The knight's movements, which ignored the common sense of physics, confused the fire control system, and it was completely unable to lock onto its target. All fire control systems created so far were completely useless against Gauntlet Knights.
Though they can display this level of mid-air mobility, Gauntlet Knights are not planes. They truly are infantry, aerial, augmented infantry. Their ability to land and take off is completely unrestricted, so they can carry out tactical operations anywhere, and a human is able to stand.
By this point, the Gauntlet Knights already possessed all the strengths of fighter jets, VTOL aircrafts, and helicopters.
So then what about their weaponry? You're probably thinking that regardless of their mobility, it would be completely useless if they don't have the firepower to take down their targets. But when it comes to Gauntlet Knights, that is utterly needless concern.
The Dimension Container System, brought about by cutting-edge 4DP technology, made it possible for a person to take massive arsenals of weapons and ammunition with them. AOU. The scene changed. A boy soldier who was apparently a Gauntlet Knight stood still in what looked like a vehicle service station. Set about him in a radial pattern were all sorts of weapons and ammunitions like a weapon bargain sale. There were rows and rows of missiles designed for fighter jets, just as many precision smart bombs, and even several heavy torpedoes designed for major warships. This was clearly more weaponry than your average fighter jet. Furthermore, there were howitzers and their ammunitions laid out alongside them, as well as multi-barreled machine guns with ammo belts folded several times over. And that wasn't all. There were also reconnaissance drones, several types of signal flares, ammunition, resupply containers, and various construction kits, with everything down to the slightest detail packed in.
This massive set of military ordnance can all be carried by a single Gauntlet Knight. And if they specialize in carrying capacity, they can fit in the same attack amount of weaponry as an attack carrier. Witness the armament of a battleship and the mobility of a fighter jet. This is a Gauntlet Knight. But that's not all. They also possess an ultimate technique that cannot be reproduced with any currently existing weaponry. Watch and learn.
AOU. The scene changed, and it now appeared to be an outdoor shooting range. The same Gauntlet Knight boy soldier stepped forward. Several adult soldiers stood side by side, some distance away, all pointing guns at him. Immediately after a whistle blew, the sound of gunfire and smoke rushed towards the boy, as though a bunch of firecrackers had been set off. That was it. Nothing happened. It was a bit of a letdown.
Do you understand what just happened? Let's slow it down a bit.
The same scene was replayed in slow motion, super slow motion. Bullets really were launched from the soldiers' guns. However, they were all bounced back along with the white glow from a spot directly in front of a Gauntlet Knight. Next time a whistle blew, a soldier who had been lying prone and wielding a light machine gun sent a signal, then laid down a powerful barrage. It was so fierce you could see that was happening clearly now, even without the slow motion.
This is the Invincible Defense Gauntlet Knights proudly wield the Rejection Shield.
AOU. The scene changed again. The same soldier boy was standing in different parts of the shooting range, but this time the camera was far away from him. That doesn't seem well. After a countdown, the boy was swallowed up by a massive explosion, like something out of a Hollywood film. But when the flames dispersed, he was still standing there with a blank expression, as though nothing had happened.
An invincible defense, and easy control over the skies, and the ability to use endless weapons at will. And every single bit of this is all compressed into a single Gauntlet Knight. In this new era, the numbers representing the military's might of nations will surely shrink drastically. All we need to know is how many talented Gauntlet Knights each nation has. The scene changed several more times, showing various scenes of Gauntlet Knights training. Sometimes they led fighter jet formations, and sometimes they led aircraft carrier fleets. Then they landed jauntily at the ground, surrounded by a tank division. AOU. Come, boys and girls, ready to become defenders of peace? Won't you like to join those who stand at the head of all militaries of peace, blazing away into a new era?
Is this Jaden?
The aerial augment infantry awaits you. The moment you put a gauntlet on your left arm, you will become a Gauntlet Knight.
Very nicely made. Do you think you can get a bit shorter, though? My back's starting to hurt. Urgh. The old officer rose from the seat in the back projection room, rubbing his back. A young, voluptuous female officer who seemed to be his private secretary helped him up. No, no, sir. We cannot make it any shorter in light of the regulations.
Is that so?
Very well, very well. By the way, kids like explosions, right? Bang, boom, and all that. We gotta add more flashy scenes. Also, the hook in the first 15 seconds is important. Understand? I studied film back in the day, so I know all about it. When the old officer started talking proudly, the other officers all took out notepads at once and made a show of writing it down diligently. Hey, look, it's the main character. Look at this moronic video they've made. As if just putting a robot toy on your arm could turn anyone into a superhuman being. In the first place, these aerial augmented infantry things are still just theoretical. If it was just a portable system for individual flight wielded by specialist troops, that'd be realistic enough. But then you throw in one bit of ridiculous technology after another and call them gauntlet knights? What are they, superheroes from some American comic book? True, there weren't any lies in their catalog specs. They could fly like fighter jets, carry weaponry like battleships, and set up invincible barriers like tanks. In that propaganda video, the brat looked as he was flying around happily. Still, the shock reduction provided by anti-G8MS isn't invincible. He did a bit too much ricochet flying, and after the shoot, the capillaries in his eyeballs ruptured, eventually rendering him unconscious. If only they filmed it in one take, he'd probably still be able to see. Even the dimension container, which worked like a 4-dimension pocket, kept having issues. Just how many brats have been turned to mincemeat when they tried to open it up and then immediately got hit by an explosion before they could fire up their rejection shields? Even the rejection shield only had become stable very recently. And if it doesn't work perfectly, when a brat's flying at 800 kilometers per hour, all it takes is a lazy flying pigeon to smash their head to bits. Well, we'll soon have plenty of brats to work with. Put up flashy odds that ought at least look good, and you'll find all the stupid kids you need. After all, anyone would want to do it. If I'd been in my teens and someone told me I could become the face of the entire military flying unaided through the sky, I'd be screwed too. Still, a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. In the end, it's beach and a sport where you can't really fly outside the simulator.
By the way, the aerial augmented infantry boy in the video really is young and bold. I'd like to get a chance to meet him. Do you think you could bring him to dinner tonight?
Oh, that sounds excellent.
Captain Okanogi.
Major General, sir, I'm afraid to say that he's already perished in the line of duty.
What? Is that true? What a shame. He looked magnificent, so I was hoping to give his career a boost.
Too bad, too bad. Truth be told, that explosion scene in the video just now was also the scene of his death, Major General, sir. The filming schedule was a bit too rushed, so he must have been overworked. He screwed up with his shield during the flashiest scene at the end. Thanks to that, we were forced to edit it to make it look like he'd survive a massive blast. God damn it! It's not like we've got the budget for this kind of thing.
Sir, it's about time you went to your car.
Oh, okay. Well then, keep up the good work, everyone. Also, everyone's eyes will be in the Aerial Augmented Infantry Division at the Battle Standard Festival, so make sure you give it your all. By the way, I believe a contestant from here in Japan will be representing the AOU, correct?
We're gonna see it. The boy. Yes, sir. The Second Lieutenant Mitake Miao of the 17th Aerial Augmented Infantry Squad, Warcat. Damn it! If that skinny brat's supposed to be representing the rising sun at the International Battle Standard Festival, this world really is screwed. Welcome to A3W, When They Cry 5. Econia, When They Cry. Thank you for waiting so long for us to prepare. Now, I will finally start up the game. However, are you sure about this? This is merely my personal opinion, but I believe the difficulty level is quite high given the present circumstances. Still, I am well aware that you know the joy of achieving victory, especially over conditions such as that. This is considerably high tier of difficulty. After all, your opponent is already fully prepared. Warning: this work was created in Japan in the year of 2019. We cannot guarantee that possession of this work in the country you currently live in conforms to the country's current laws. Furthermore, if possession of this work results in any sorts of damages, we cannot be held responsible for compensation. Additionally, distributing this work on the internet without the creator's consent is forbidden. You must agree to pay us 10 million Japanese yen if you break this rule. If you do not agree to take personal responsibility for owning and reading this work, and the risks involved in doing so, we ask that you uninstall it immediately. I consent. This is a work of fiction, obviously. Any similarities to real individuals, groups, religions, all of creation, the will of the universe, plans of God, or Vatican document number 34 are entirely coincidental. This work does not approve of any specific ideology, nor does it represent the ideology of its creators. Okay? For this first phase, you have permission to record and distribute videos up until the end of the 17th chapter, Pollo. I'll let you know when you get there, Pollo. This is going to be fun. The top of Super Tokyo Tower sat 666 meters above the ground. Surrounding it, the scenery of the night stretched as far as the horizon. The hustle and bustle of the surface didn't reach this place. I mean, come on, he looks like a sheep, right? I can't be the only one who thought this. When I first saw this game, I thought Mitaki Meow was going to be a female protagonist. I really did. Nor did his troubles and complications. The sky is the only place we can be truly free. And there, atop the antenna mast, at the peak of the tower, I stood. My fear of heights is now a little more than a fond memory. Oh, Meow's reading this.
Of course, that's not really such a great thing. In your everyday life, if you jump out of a third-story window and seriously hurt yourself because you can't be bothered to go down a staircase, well, that's just a joke among people like us, but a pretty common one. Just to check, I glanced at my left arm. It was clad in a bulky contraption that resembled some piece of European armor. The device, which extended from my shoulder to my fingertips, was unsurprisingly called a gauntlet. Knowing it was there meant that I could relax and forget about the laws of physics. Whew. I let out a deep breath and gathered my wits. Then I slowly extended my right foot into the black void, the nighttime sea. Gravity pulled on my entire body, and I slowly fell forward. I dove into the nighttime sea. The gentle change caused by gravity was soon accelerating me towards the ground at an incredible pace. I was in free fall, with the positions of heaven and earth swapped. A natural free fall without any force field manipulation feels the best. My body fell faster and faster. I can never get enough of this scene of acceleration. I was probably getting near the ground, but it felt as though I could sink forever through the black nighttime sea. Part of me wanted to wax poetic, but this was simple vertigo. The sum of my mental data, not including sight, left me fully aware of the speed and trajectory of my fall, as well as the surrounding terrain and the timing of impact. The instant before I smashed into the asphalt of the Shutoi Expressway, I kicked off the empty air, and the ballistic curve of my descent snapped into a right angle. In the vacant space I launched from something blossomed, delicately gathered in white phosphorescence. They floated in the air, incredibly beautiful. as almost as though an angel's feathers had been scattered about. Kikonia, When They Cry, 07th Expansion presents. Welcome to A3W, When They Cry 5. Gravity no longer bound me, but my body was light of flesh and blood, and now soared like a swallow. I'll glide solo. I'll be a hair's breadth, shut away from escaping the asphalt off the Shuto Expressway. A train bridge came in sight before me. Across it raced one of those new steam engine locomotives that just debuted this year. The steam engine is synonymous with economic revolution and kicked off a wave of technological advancement. It was also the first step towards mechanized technology. I doubt any of the great technological geniuses of the past would have expected it to make a comeback after the nuclear age. Of course, it resembles an old steam engine. Its operating principle is completely different. After coal and oil, then the atom, humanity got its hand on a new ultimate fuel. It was called spiritium. When spiritium engines convert energy, they expel large clouds of mist that resembles water vapor, until the haze of countless spiritium machines' exhausts have become the mark of a massive city. Happily bursting through the vapor, billowing out that steam locomotive, a forest of skyscrapers awaited me on the other side. All over were buildings with Victorian and Art Nouveau themed designs like a scene out of the 19th century. The brick facades and sprites were beautiful. The golden glitter of the brass steam pipes tangled through every surface was also gorgeous under the floodlights. There were also Japanese-style eccentric billboards interspersed throughout it. That slightly twisted, yet strangely appealing contrast was the essence of Tokyo metropolis at night. The cityscape style and fashion sense, all reminiscent of the 19th century. However, behind the artistic veneer, celebrating the rebirth of the economic golden age, lay state-of-the-art inventions that could fairly be called the ultimate in human tech. At the end of the cutting edge of that cutting edge, it had finally become possible for flesh and blood human to fly like this. Of course, this power was only available to a few people so far. I was one of those lucky enough to enjoy this privilege. Every era, every society is fundamentally crap when you get right down to it. There's one thing I can say. Being granted the ability to fly a flighter like this makes me glad I was born in this era. Whew. Being careful not to fly too high, I raced through the forest of skyscrapers and billboards. This felt way more like flying than staring down from above did. The newspaper kept saying we should cut down the number of electric billboards to avoid disrupting the city scenery, but I kind of like this look. After all, Tokyo had looked like this since the day I was born. Why should I give a damn about the ancient Tokyo those long so much for? This is our Tokyo. As I continued to pick up speed, I slivered past billboards that stretched out over the road and seemingly competed with each other. Greater Tokyo Securities, Miu Spiritium, Yarozu Life Insurance, Cure-Alls from Manchido, Mental Displays by Fujix, Katkaraoke Sushi Cosplay, now get 101 SR wheel spins free, A-side foodstuffs, Eat Wisely Misely Soldiers of a Rich Nation, snacks recommended by the National Defense Boys Club, Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola bottlers are the official sponsor of the International Bottle Standard Festival of Peace. I glanced down and saw a gleaming swarm of cats blanketing a highway that wound through the downtown district. The exhilarating feeling of gliding right over all of them was by far the most primal part of the primal joy of flying. You know, you forget this feeling you don't fly every now and then. It's only natural that flying through the air is exhilarating.
At that moment, a frog character hopped into the corner of my mental display. It was Selcom's beloved mascot, Kettlepuyo. Then, it made a mental announcement with that funny default voice. "A friend has arrived, Puyo."
Immediately, a friend started talking to me through my kizuna. Who the heck's doing that? I'm busy focusing on my mind by remembering my primal self. Well, I guess only one person it could be.
Hey, taking a nice, relaxed pleasure flight in a place like this?
Leave me alone.
I'll bet you haven't warmed up enough yet. Well, super genius Jaden has come to play with you.
Sheesh, you're such a pest. It was my annoying partner. He never leaves me alone, even when I'm trying to focus on mine in solitude. Yeah, warming up's important. For someone like you, at least. Heh. As if you didn't expect me to show up right here and now. I'm flying for my own sake. It's not like I was waiting for you.
You're such a cute Cinderace, meow.
What a pain in the ass. Okay, sure, I'm in. I don't want people blaming me if I screw up later on.
Are we getting a fight?
Activating the Dimension Container Pointer.
So, are we using competition rules?
Activating Reaper's Eye. Friendly unit Jaden located. Registering as hostile. Player.
Nah, we can do like this. You like this place, right?
Hostile unit Jaden has activated its Reaper's Eye.
It? Wouldn't it be his? Or
We've been located, player. Don't act like you're doing me a favor by saying that.
we don't need Killjoy-like rules. Let's just go all out on each other. While we smack talk each other, we both started circling the Mew spirit.
While we smack talked each other, we both started circling the Mew Spiritium building, hiding behind it. It blocked our line of fire, but in a gauntlet fight, covered like something from an infantry battle meant nothing.
Time to get started.
Let's play!
When Meow thrust his right arm, a burst of luminous angel feather danced around it, and one after another guided missiles winked into existence. It looked like an ancient magician summoning familiars. The missiles launched one after another, circling around the building and aiming for Jaden on the opposite side. Then, not a beat later, Meow summoned into existence a massive 7-barrel Gatling gun, big enough that it covered his body. Okay, so I heard in Canada they pronounce this as Gatling, but in the States it's Gatling. I don't know what it's like in Australia though, so if you guys would like to help me, and any part of Europe, you might want to tell me about this too. Okay, Britain, I'm all ears. Just saying. How do you pronounce this word? I've always said Gatling my whole life. After all, just as Meow had launched guided missiles around the building, Jaden had launched missiles back at him. The missiles that appeared one after another were behind the skyscraper, were met by Meow's Gatling gun. They were rapidly caught by the hailstorm of bullets exploding one after another, bursting the skyscraper's window to glittering dust. The Gatling gun, which floated in the sky above Meow's right hand, was exactly like those loaded into warships to defend against anti-ship missiles. These were supposed to weigh over 9 tons. However, it continued to float over Meow's arm, as if it weighed nothing at all. I see. The way you're guiding your missiles as twisted as ever.
Meow.
Jaden intercepted Meow's guided missiles, which had come flying around at him in the same way. If they had come flying via traditional maneuver aiming directly for their target, it would have been easy to intercept them. However, these two could control the flight paths of the missiles they launched. For that reason, no computer could completely intercept the volley of their high maneuverability missiles as they approached along such complicated trajectories. The missiles were being guided by humans, so it took a human to intercept them.
Your missiles are pretty twisted too.
Duking it out with you would make anyone twisted. They circled at high speeds, shooting down the missiles that chased them, one by one. Naturally, both were simultaneously guided missiles, intercepting them and also controlling the speed and direction of their own flight. It would be impossible for a normal human to do this at the same time. That's why gauntlet knights were admired by children, no, by people everywhere. In a battle between superhumans like this, how you fool your opponent is vital. Even games that appear to be completely intellectual, like chess and shogi, are eventually decided with a physical context, depending on the glucose levels of your blood. They were being chased by swarms of missiles flying in complex trajectories, constantly intercepting them while still firing missiles themselves and looking for a chance to corner their opponent. Doing so was brutally exhausting, and the instant you gave your opponent any opening, they'd take advantage of the end the whole thing. That was how a standard one-on-one fight between a gauntlet knight went. So, you think you can win if it's an endurance dogfight, huh? Don't forget, meow. I know, you're a super genius, right? Yep, I'm a super genius, Jaden. The next instant, Jaden shouted glowing feathers through the air as he changed his movement pattern. He turned at a right angle, heading straight towards the floor of the building. He burst through the massive glass windows and flew inside. The entire 58th floor of the Miu Spiritium building is a single observation deck unit restaurant. He raced through the empty restaurant, sending tables flying. While playing a fierce game of tag with guided missiles, Jaden had also been investigating. He had accessed the floor's plans for the Miu Spiritium building that had been the center of their dogfight. The building screening the two of them from each other had instantly become a shortcut. You little... I'm a super genius. Hear me roar. Hooria! The entire building was pierced as he performed an all-out body slam backed by a force field. Despite that, Meow just barely managed to dodge. He kicked off the empty air and sent glowing feathers flying, changing his direction in a right angle and plunging straight down. Of course, Jaden hadn't been naive enough to hope that this surprise attack would land a clean hit. However, in dodging, Meow had been forced to make too sudden of a vector change, and the anti-G8MS in his body had used up almost all of its energy in an instant. Energy depleted. Beginning recharge point. Until you're fully recharged, you can't do anything at all, point. Without any energy left, Meow lost all control and could do nothing but let himself free fall straight down. His energy would recharge soon, but in an extreme close combat situation like this, that pause would be utterly fatal. Jaden was looking down on him from above in complete control. Their raw, unaugmented gazes crossed. But why are they blushing, though? Like, are they into this? Jaden swung his right arm down, scattering glowing feathers about as he summoned a .50 caliber heavy machine gun. Fuck.
Enemy unit Jaden has changed target locked. Energy recharge in process. Evasive maneuvers highly recommended, player. But too bad, player. You're still recharging, so you can't do anything, player. Oh, but even if you're in free fall, you can still pray, player. Oh, but even if you're in free fall, you can still pray, player. God damn it! This new version of Catapoyo sure is an asshole. Gotcha! Meow! Ignition. Huh? Even when supplemented by the Reaper's Eye system, which makes it possible to observe the entirety of the surrounding area, people tend to focus on a single point where they get excited. In that instant, all of the directions become blind spots for them. So by the time he saw that, it was already behind him. At exactly the time Meow made his emergency dodge downwards, he had summoned a missile directly above himself. He had just summoned it in midair, nothing more. It was merely a floating object, not guided or moving in any way. So it had entered freefall and was now right behind Jaden. However, it wasn't as though he hadn't given this missile any orders. It had just one, and that was to explode after a few seconds' delay. A massive explosion engulfed Jaden from behind. An instant later, pure white angel feathers were scattered all over the area in front of the blast. It was a sign that rejection shield had blocked the explosion. A Gauntlet Knight wouldn't succumb to a little attack like that. They could fly about at will, arm themselves at will, and also shield themselves at will. No, seriously, where were these guys back in Higurashi, huh?
If Rika had one of these fucking things and was able to use it, she would have beat Takano way earlier in the story. But that's besides the point. It was an invincible shield usable only by gauntlet knights who could perform a Dreisig conversion on Spiritium unaided. A rejection shield. They could extend it instantly, blocking any sort of attack. However, depending on the strength of the attack and whether the defender was taken by surprise, doing so could expend a massive amount of energy. You got me.
Heh, as if I'd let you win with a little trick like that.
It had been a completely unexpected trap, and it had resulted in a blast to the back at extreme close range. Jaden had used up almost all of his energy in an instant. Triggering it at such close range would have taken you out with the shrapnel too, but you got me to put up my shield and block it. You really are. Wait, what do you say? Backlog. You really are crazy awesome and totally screwed up. Meow! Said glowing feathers scattering with the last of energy. Jaden rapidly accelerated towards Meow. And Meow, who was in freefall, waited for Jaden as he came to settle this.
Jaden!
Meow! Surrounded by dancing fragments of glass, glowing wind, and shrapnel from the blast, the two men raised fists collided. Meow's an adult. The fuck? Looks like 14-year-old scrawny boy. Ah! Ah! Gotcha! As the pair descended in freefall, two punches contained all of their strengths crossed. It was a cross counter, so they would take each other out. No, Meow's arms are too short. No. As the air descended in freefall, two punches containing all their strengths crossed. It was a cross counter, so they would take each other out. No, the victor was clear. If you're short, that means your arms are short too. Right? Meow. Jaden's right straight definitely reached Meow's cheek, but Meow's right straight didn't make it. The difference in reach was obvious.
Damn it!
In the end, the showdown between Gauntlet Knight's aces was decided not by wit, nor physical strength, nor glucose levels, but by height alone. Their energy was recharged, and they regained control, rescuing them from the shackles of freefall.
I hate this right arm. Get me a saw. It's coming off, and I'll replace it with a rocket fist.
Sweet. Let me know what you do. I'll even give you special permission to punch me. That's a promise. Okay? Don't you go forgetting it. Still, I'd expect no less from you, Meow. I thought I'd launched the perfect sneak attack, but if it had been perfect, he wouldn't have been able to set a trap so quickly. I'll bet he figured I'd come at him through a shortcut and waited for me. I moved first, so I was able to make it through the chaos somehow, but if I'd been a heartbeat slower, and if Meow had finished his preparations, I probably would have been taken out neatly. Not bad, partner. I may have won by a nose, but battle's far from.
I'll let you in, obviously. I mean, you always get pissed when you don't win in the end. Natural. I was helping out on purpose for the sake of your mental health.
Fuck you, Meow. You're one of those pricks, aren't you? Yeah, I can already feel it. Meow's one of those motherfuckers who would celebrate an Olympian skier for quitting on her team instead of just, letting her quit for health reasons. Huh? And I was trying to be a gracious winner too.
No matter how you look at it, my trap worked perfectly, and I won. In a real battle, it would end with a punch, and my recharge would have been at least 1 second sooner. Then, if it were a real battle, I would have blown you away with the force field and slammed you against the wall, winning.
Help me out. You're a sore loser, buddy. I'm already not liking you. You know that? I mean, Jaden here, he's not a looker, obviously, but at least At least he wasn't making excuses. In fact, he even said in his monologue here, although you don't know this, that he knew of a way you could have won. Ah, damn it. We almost closed out that scene so neatly, and now you ruined it. Though he said this, Jaden laughed, looking somewhat amused. Yeah, I wasn't really the sore loser he sounded like. They had both just been scuffling and playing. And look, now he's smiling too. However, his expression transformed utterly a second later. But you know what? That was way too reckless, putting your body on the line with a sudden sneak attack like that. In a real battle, we would have taken each other out. Or you might have hit the building and blown yourself up. Alright, that's where we're going to leave it off for today. Yes. That's effectively what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the grinding episodes. So I'm going to have the actual grinding, ignore that, I'm going to have the actual grinding in the video, but in a sense, instead of forcing myself to record hours upon hours of myself talking over dead space, I'd rather just read it going up and talk about it towards the end. So I figured, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like Meow compared to the other. So I'm gonna look at When They Cry based off of their detectives and reoccurring characters alone. So the true protagonist of When They Cry, as we all know, is Okonogi. Okay, he's in Higurashi, he's in Minako, and he's in Kigonia. That's fine. I don't really dislike Okonogi, but I don't hate him. But I don't like him either. But now let's look at. I don't think Amaxa has appeared yet, but I know Amaxa has appeared in Higurashi and Uminako. So I can count him too, but I'll say I just know Amaxa is that guy who stalks Angie on the boat. I know he does important things in the story, but it's just one of those things where you just don't really care about it. But let's look at it. So let's look at When They Cry 1's protagonist, Keiichi. I mean, he didn't know the meaning of subtlety, but at least he seemed, or at least acted in a way as if to insinuate that he had a plan. When They Cry 2's protagonist, Fuderica, honestly is my favorite protagonist so far. Yeah, so far is my favorite protagonist. And then if we take her as one of the villainous of the story, you know, like Burn, when she's in Umineko, so When They Cry 3 and 4, she's a blast. Honestly, the way she treats Erica is so funny. It's so funny. It really is. And that fight with Lambda in Chapter 8 was great as well. And the fight with Lambda and Sotsu, but they weren't called that yet. So we're just going to keep it there. Then we have for When They Cry 3, we've had 2 detectives. Those detectives were Batora and Anje. Anje in When They Cry 3 just kind of showed up and died. She didn't really become relevant until Chapter 6 and onwards. So When They Cry 4, for the remaining 3/4 of the story. Because I don't even think she was in the first fourth of the story. And Battler is just great. Okay? I think Battler is one of the best protagonists in visual novels. Should have been there. But when we were reading David and then and me, and out of nowhere started calling Battler David's boyfriend, and I couldn't stop laughing. Because you gotta realize that David, he's not gay, okay? But the fact of the matter is that makes him the third person to join a group chat with us and call him gay at some point or insinuate it. I feel bad for him, I really do, because it's straight up people are saying you're not. We don't think you are who you think you are. It's kind of nuts. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's kind of messed up. And at the end of the day, he knows we're just guys joking around. Although the first person to actually accuse him of being gay was a girl. Look at that as you will. And then for When They Cry 4, we had the same 2, but then we had Erica, Delanor, and Willard. I loved Eleanor. She's so cool. Eleanor's such a cool person. After all, die the death, sentenced to death, great equalizer's death. I think I can go for 20 years and never forget that line, maybe even longer. And Erica, oh, she's a fucking super smart detective, honestly. If Ben Shapiro wasn't married to a doctor, I think he would have married Erica. When she was older, obviously. Yeah. Every time I look at Erica, I just think, what if Ben Shapiro wasn't Jewish? that's that's just that's what pops into my mind. You know, when I think of Erica, I think of conservative political commentator Ben Shapiro. I don't even know why. It it fits. It really fits. Okay, they really do. They're the same person. Okay, I think we should get someone at Daily Wire to get Ben Shapiro to read When They Cry 3 and 4. Just saying. And then Kikonia's main hero of the story, Mitake Meow. I don't like Meow. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Of all the When They Cry characters, he's the person I like the least. Well, of the main ones, right? Of the main When They Cry characters, I can't get into Meow. Meow reminds me of a modern teenager. I'm saying this in 2022, so if that statement has changed, please note that there was a point in time where that statement was not changed. It is also 2 a.m. on June 6th. So overall, I'm liking the story of Kikonia so far. I've made it about as far to Jaden and Meow, spelled Meow's date. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care about spoilers, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. If a movie is spoiled and it's no longer good, then it wasn't a good movie. If a movie is absolutely spoiled rotten to you, and you go watch the movie and still enjoy it, that's the mark of a good movie. The second mark of good writing is you're not mad at the author, you're mad at the character. That's the second thing I look for. And the third thing I look for is if the sound effects, the music, or some other background element was removed, would you still feel an emotional impact? If the answer is yes, that's great writing. The music should only add to it. It should not be used as a crux for it. That's why, starting with part 45 and onward, I believe, I'm going to stop playing music in Legacy of the Duelist because it just drowns out the sound so much. And finally, this is how we're going to be doing the grinding episodes from now on because I cannot put myself through all of that grinding and talk over it more and more and more. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a pain in the ass. It really is. Still, the full episode, so I upload the main series, and the main series is going to be uploaded as normal. But then the full episode will come out the day after. That way people can't claim that I edit out my mistakes. In fact, this video, I sped it up and cut out all the game crashes. It looks a bit suspicious, it really does, but trust me, I would not have bothered to sit down and recorded this at 2 a.m. in the morning if that really was the case. I'm actually going to leave no, I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm going to remove the taskbar just to make it look a little better. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed.